Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and I'm particularly pleased this morning to be able to introduce this third edition of a book from the Legal Action Group, which is a very important organisation for us as advisors and practitioners. It's called Leasehold Disputes. It's been written by Francis Davey and Justin Bates, and it's an excellent book. As you probably will gather, I'm biased, but I think these books are extremely helpful. Can I just point out that with all of these books, you've got a shaded area there which gives you the idea of where the appendix or the appendices are. Normally these would be legislation and things like useful addresses, and you can see what's listed there. You can also see the useful and very helpful index at the back. That's actually the back page, which sets out what's actually in this book in some detail. You've therefore also got very useful paragraph numbering to find things quickly, and a lot of footnotes, mainly connected with regulations and a lot of other things. But there are some useful points. For instance, in the chapters right at the beginning, you've got a nice list of what's there, so you can find things pretty quickly. You've also got these sorts of things, such as key points, which are shaded areas, and giving advice as to what might need to be done in particular sets of circumstances. Front of the book, of course, you've got statute law dominating, a lot of case law as well, of course, which is there. There are other books from LAG which cover this area as well, of course, but this is a specific one on leasehold disputes. Those are the contents pages. Then you've got a very useful foreword, which is setting out what is happening at the moment. I'm very pleased with this book. It only runs to just over 300 pages. Very much part of what LAG do. They're very important to everybody, I think, and it's a book you will see in the courts, which gives you an idea of the impact that LAG publications have had in probably the last 15 to 20 years alone. Certainly since I practice, it's going on for a few years now, I've came into these books very quickly indeed and found them just what I needed in the early years of my practice. But the thing is, it's useful for us across the board. Now, we've written a review of this. My wife and I have written a review which is entitled Essential Reading for Practitioners, Tribunal Representatives and Residential Tenants, fully updated for 2014. So you can see immediately it's got that touch about it which gives you something which an ordinary person should be able to understand just as much as the practitioner and of course the judge, person making the final decision. This is what we say about the book anyway. If you're a leaseholder or advising someone who is, what are leaseholders' rights and what needs to be done in the event of a dispute? The answer to these and any number of related queries are available in the information-rich and easily accessible guide published by the Legal Action Group. This one. Now in its third edition, this well-established work of reference will bring you completely up to date on the numerous developments that have emerged since the last edition was published some 6 years ago. The first edition, I would hasten to add, was some 10 years ago, so it's had quite an interesting life in the last decade. The intention of the two expert authors is to give advice for residential tenants in a dispute with their landlord that might bring them before the first tier tribunal, that's the property chamber in England, or a leasehold valuation tribunal, the LVT, in Wales. The considerable amount of new material, therefore, naturally includes detailed examination of the replacement of the LVT in England by the First Tier Tribunal, the FTT, together with separate coverage of the LVT regime in Wales. And many of you will remember the valuation regime as it was, so it's useful to get up to date now with what is happening today. There's a new chapter on the frequent and particularly fraught area of dispute between landlord and tenant. That is the dreaded service charges. See, there are books available which are much more detailed in some respects, but this gives you a very good indication and grounding as to, if I can use that expression, of what service charges are. And if there's an intention to recover the landlord's costs, there's a new chapter on this subject as well, and much more new material besides. In all, virtually every topic pertaining to leasehold disputes is thoroughly yet concisely examined and explained, from insurance and administration charges to legal costs, repairs, forfeiture and the right to buy. So if you need even more information, this compact paperback volume contains lengthy tables of cases, statutes, statutory instruments, lists of abbreviations and the 4 appendix at the back, which, for example, extract from relevant information worked examples and useful addresses which you will find helpful in your role as either a representative or an advisor. Writing in the foreword, Siobhan McGrath, who's president of the First Tier Tribunal, that's the Property Chamber, indicates in no uncertain terms, that's right at the front of the book, when she says the breadth of the subject matter and therefore the scope of the book is what is really at the heart of it. And she says the leasehold sector includes private landlords, public landlords, tenant management companies, owner-occupiers and right-to-buy investors. And therefore you get some idea from her as to how they're thinking with the changes and what they're really looking for and how they think about the issues. Let me conclude by saying there is certainly a diversity of interests among a broad range of players here, all of whom will benefit from the wealth of information and expert advice available in this volume. Practitioners, tribunal representatives and local authorities, as we've indicated, not to mention residential tenants themselves involved in tribunal matters, should consider this book an essential purchase. Now, the law is stated as accurate as at the 17th of January 2014, and just to show you the book again, you can see it's a nice light book. Again, it's got an awful lot of information. I think that's particularly relevant to a lot of people because money is always at the bottom of most of this. One of the other things is the service charges element. Again, very important. Certainly in the practice cases I've had, those are areas which we've been heavily involved with in the past. So thank you to all concerned. Lag have come up trumps again with this. It's an excellent book. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.